And we're live. Justice, sweet justice is what you call what is about to go down. Unbelievable twist of fate in that one judge, Jeanine Pirro, is taking on her former rival. In fact, she ran against him in 2006, won Andrew Cuomo for Attorney General, the position in New York that Letitia James now holds, and she's going down too. By the way, she kind of just implicated herself. I got to share this sound with you. Weird twist of fate, shall we say, and 6 degrees of separation there between Judge Jeanine, Andrew Cuomo, Letitia James. Judge Jeanine has got the case, which means there will be justice. Alina Habba, meanwhile, over there in New Jersey, is considering charging more Democrats in that Newark, New Jersey, Delancey Hall detention center disaster that went down 2 weeks ago. Letitia, as I mentioned, is seemingly admitting her guilt. And of course, we get to talk about the horrible tragedy in DC, a very, very packed show today for all of you. Please do me the favor of making sure that you subscribe, share, like, make a comment. We're live. I see it all. I see it all. All right. Get a load of this. U.S. District Attorney in DC, one Jeanine Pirro, is overseeing the case against one Andrew Cuomo, the former governor of New York, who is in a whole lot of trouble, you guys, for allegedly putting people that had COVID into nursing homes, thereby exposing the most vulnerable part of our population to COVID back in 2020. And somehow he got away with this. I don't think he's going to get away with it now. The DOJ has opened an investigation, and Judge Jeanine Pirro is leading the whole thing. Remember her from Fox? She used to have a show called Justice. Well, I went and dug up a few comments about what she had to say about one Andrew Cuomo, and it's not pretty.
Pervert.
Well, she had a little more to say than that. Let's start with this.
Andrew, your time is up. You've not only bullied too many people, you've crossed the line and violated the law over and over again. You're an arrogant, corrupt, condescending, conceited, self-important braggart bully.
Tell us how you really feel.
Pervert.
Yeah, that's kind of how she's thinking about one Andrew Cuomo right about now, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, Andrew Cuomo, he's in the hot seat. He was there in D.C. yesterday. He did get questioned by a reporter, and he kind of shrugged off the question, said that nothing had changed in his testimony. You see, they're trying to get him basically under perjury, lying to federal officials, because when he was questioned about just exactly what went down, about how he moved people who did have COVID into nursing homes, that was not clear in terms of his answering. Let's go to him here.
Governor Cuomo, what do you make of the accusation that the committee is making that you withheld some records during the course of their investigation?
All baloney, as we would say in New York.
Do you expect any...
All baloney. The reporter went on to say, do you expect any ramifications from this? And he just completely ignored the question. So he wants you to know it's all baloney. There's no truth, that he absolutely told the truth last time around, and the DOJ has already decided there was no there. Of course, that was Biden's DOJ.
Department of Justice found we did nothing wrong. The investigations found that the New York advisory was wholly consistent with the federal guidance set by CMS and CDC. 2 investigations found exactly that what New York did was implement the federal guidance.
Andrew, your time is up. You've not only bullied too many people, you've crossed the line and violated the law over and over again. You're an arrogant, corrupt, condescending, conceited, self-important braggart bully.
Okay. Oh, wow. And don't forget this.
Pervert.
It's as though Trump had to know. By picking Judge Jeanine, Jeanine Pirro, to be the interim U.S. District Attorney in D.C. And knowing that this case was coming forward, he knew that this would have to be some spectacular fireworks. Anyway, here's the deal. He is being investigated at this point because of alleged false testimony to Congress. Andrew Cuomo is accused of basically lying under oath because he may have misled Congress during a 2024 closed-door testimony by denying any involvement in drafting or editing a July 2020 state health report. And in that report, they allegedly underreported nursing home deaths by 46%. There were emails, there were handwritten notes suggesting that Cuomo was directly involved in that report's creation. Okay, so that's the allegation. And the investigation is looking at how the administration under one Andrew Cuomo intentionally underreported the number of COVID-19 deaths in those nursing homes, because you see, he had this little directive back in March 2020, March 25th, mind you, 2020, that required nursing homes to accept COVID positive patients. I mean, it didn't make any sense, right? Because that was the policy that contributed to thousands and thousands of deaths in New York. And he's like tried to deny it. He's tried to say, oh no, we didn't have that policy. Oh yeah, you did, buddy. You did have that policy. They had mandatory admission, if you would. Nursing homes were mandated to accept these patients who were deemed medically stable for discharge, even if they were COVID-19 positive. There was no testing required. The directive also prohibited nursing homes from requiring COVID-19 testing before allowing these people to come in or readmitting people. And the reasoning the Cuomo administration tried to say was that the directive was intended to alleviate pressure on hospitals at the time that were overwhelmed by COVID-19 cases. So that makes a lot of sense. All right, you hospitals are struggling, so we're going to send everyone into the nursing homes, thereby infecting the most vulnerable people of all. I mean, boy, did they get this thing wrong. You could have actually done this the right way, protecting the people that needed to be protected, meaning the elderly, the sick, while allowing everybody else hopefully to go along with their business, for kids to be able to go to school, for people to be able to go to work. But instead, they shut the whole thing down and actually sent the most vulnerable people into the worst situation. And he got away with it. And then he came out with a book that he published on leadership, mind you. So I want to show you, here's some testimony that took place in September 24. And the Representative Maliatekis is saying, listen, you cite all this CMS data to claim that New York had the 12th lowest death rate at the end of 2020. However, CMS began collecting data in mid-May, so that those deaths, when your deadly directive was in full force, were not even included. So your administration's out there reporting 6,000 deaths when the true toll was actually 11,400. And then you assert your March 25th directive, remember the one that I just said, which mandated nursing homes must admit COVID positive patients. You assert that you never did that, which is obviously, she says, this is false. Your directive very clearly says, quote, no resident shall be denied, and it prohibited COVID testing before admission. So if this guy lied, if he's lying under oath, then that's a huge problem, right? That comes with all kinds of consequences, as we've discovered with some of these other people. Lying under oath, I mean, lying to the federal government, you can get up to 30 years for something like that. And Judge Jeanine is not exactly going to go easy on the guy. So between the judge and between what he's been saying, I think he's got a lot of problems. I want to show you him here. No remorse, literally no remorse. He goes on local TV because, he's running for mayor of New York. By the way, he's trying to use this, much like Letitia does. He's trying to use this and saying that, they're going after me. Trump is going after me just because I'm running for mayor of New York. It's like, no, he's going after you because he wants actual ramifications for all the bad behavior that went down back in those days. He goes on local TV, Andrew Cuomo, running for mayor of New York, talks with Rosanna Scotto on Fox 5, and she gives him this opportunity to express remorse. And he's sitting there like he's still brilliant, that it was just, such a difficult time, difficult decisions. He will not show any remorse, any regret for the decision that cost thousands of lives. For a second, do you notice how he says, you did this, you did that, you closed the schools, you put people... No, Andrew, That was you, buddy. You were the governor of New York. You were the one making the decisions. Again, no regret, no remorse. But again, no idea. How could you not know that when you take people infected with COVID and you send them into the nursing homes, as you did on March 25th, 2020, that's not going to end well. You never needed them because you sent everybody into the frickin' nursing homes. Unbelievable. Okay, and he got away with this, and then he allegedly lied to Congress about it, and nobody did squat. Okay, but now Judge Jeanine is in there. I call her Judge Jeanine, right? Because she's a former judge, but her name is Jeanine. She's now acting as the overseer of this case. She won't actually be prosecuting it herself. She's going to oversee the prosecution for the DOJ as the U.S. District Attorney there in D.C. And his life is about to become HELL. Over. Wants to completely absolve himself of anything, right? It was just a horrible pandemic. All these people died. It is what it is. No, you know what? You could have actually made some smarter decisions, and you don't lie about your decisions after the fact, which is what went down. So you know what? I'm just saying, Judge Jeanine is coming for him, and we know how she feels.
Pervert.
Okay. That was related to some of his indiscretions with his staff, but she really doesn't like the guy. And it goes all the way back to 2006 when she ran against him for the Attorney General position of New York. He got not nearly 60% of the vote. She got nearly 40% of the vote. And there's a lot of bad blood. So you know what? Her show used to be called Justice. And I have a feeling justice is coming for Andrew Cuomo. And you know what? That's a good thing. We need that. We need accountability in this country. You know what else we need accountability for? These nut jobs over in New Jersey that decided to take on ICE themselves. Alina Habba looking to arrest more people, looking to charge more Democrats. And they're freaking out because there were at least 3 of them. Monica, forgive me, MacGyver, all dressed in red, got most of the attention, but there are additional ones who are freaking out as we speak today. I'm going to go to their sound, but first, remember what I'm talking about? If you're listening to the audio version of the podcast on Spotify, we're looking at Monica MacGyver, who is the MacGyver, forgive me, and Monica, who is disrupting things. They're trespassing and is accused of body slamming an ICE agent. It's pretty bad stuff. ICE, DHS says they have all the tape, and they got her on there acting pretty violently. You also see another representative, Bonnie Watson-Coleman, who just walked by. She's in the tan trench coat, and she may be arrested as well. That is the new development that we're hearing about today as we speak. She is meeting with Alina Habba. The meeting was scheduled for today. You see MacGyver right there in the red, pushing herself up, her full body up against the ICE agent. And again, according to DHS, they have even more significant videotape. And thus, here are the charges: assaulting, impeding, interfering with law enforcement, violating Title 18 U.S. Code Section 111A1. And this is what Alina Habba is charging this Democrat representative for. But she may not be the only one. I want to go to Bonnie Watson as well, who is worried about her future, speaking on MSNBC just last night.
The interim U.S. attorney who is moving forward with these charges says she wanted to avoid charges. MacGyver says that Alina Habba wanted her to admit to doing something that she didn't do. Now, the AP reported yesterday that you're scheduled to meet with Alina Habba today. Is that still happening?
No, she's moved it now till Thursday. And Alina Habba is trying to find a way to get out of this thing as gracefully as she can. But if she thinks that she's going to extract from us any kind of admission to any wrongdoing, she's wrong. She's wasting her voice, her time, and her effort. This is an act of intimidation, and we're not going to be intimidated. We're going to do our job. And our job of oversight was extremely important in a place that opened without having any of the inspections done to ensure that where the people would be housed, the facility would be safe and clean, healthcare would be there, food would be there, etc. And at the end of the day, after all of this unnecessary chaos started by ICE, we were given our tour.
Are you concerned you could be charged next?
I'm concerned that they could try to, yes. So, concerned only in that I believe that they abuse the rule of law. Not concerned because I did anything wrong. None of us did anything wrong.
He didn't do anything wrong. I mean, what kind of world are we living in when these people don't think that they did anything wrong? How is this not wrong?
Let viewers know there will likely be more arrests coming. We actually have body camera footage of some of these members of Congress assaulting our ICE enforcement officers, including body slamming a female ICE officer. So we will be showing that to viewers very shortly.
You say a video of members of Congress body slamming ICE
That's correct.
officials?
That's correct, sir. It's disgusting.
Okay, and so if you have that video, are you suggesting that members of Congress will be arrested who were there yesterday?
This is an ongoing investigation, and that is definitely on the table.
Who has the video?
ICE does, and we will be releasing that very shortly.
Okay. Let's talk about...
Again, how is this not wrong? Like, how do you go to one of these detention centers completely unannounced? You don't schedule an appointment. You could have. And then you start mixing it up with ICE? And then you start shoving yourself into them? I mean, I'm sorry, but they keep saying we didn't do anything wrong. We didn't do anything wrong. We didn't do anything wrong. And I'm looking at the same video you guys are looking at, and I just got to say, I think they did something wrong. She clearly did something wrong. You know what's amazing? Alina Habba tried to give her some kind of little plea deal. She tried to say, okay, we'll just admit that, you shouldn't have done this, and then you're off the hook. But La Monica did not want to take that. And thus, La Monica is now being charged, as you know, and those charges come with fees up to $250,000. There she goes, pushing her weight around. We're looking at the same thing. The president has seen it too, and he weighed in.
Oh, give me a break. Did you see her? She was out of control. Did you those days are over. The days of woke. The days of woke. No, I didn't. The days of woke are over. That woman, I have no idea who she is. That woman was out of control. She was shoving federal agents. She was out of control. The days of that crap are over in this country. We're going to have law and order.
Yes. Law and order. How about that? Law and order. Imagine a world where you can't actually go and physically shove yourself up against an ICE agent, announcing yourself, not even announcing. I mean, I guess you're kind of announcing herself, right? With the body slam thing, but not even scheduling an appointment. So it's possible that Bonnie Watson Coleman does face arrest today because these women are not willing to accept whatever it is that Alina's putting forward, in which she's requiring them to admit at least what they did. I mean, take a look at her charges here. She filed this letter the other day and she's saying, look, this isn't going to happen again. I'm going to lean in closer so I can read it with you. But Representative LaMonica McIver assaulted, impeded, and interfered with law enforcement in violation of Title 18 U.S. Code Section 111A1. The conduct cannot be overlooked by the chief federal law enforcement officer. I mean, you can't, right? Because if you're overlooking that, then what kind of standard are you setting for anyone else? Just because you're a lawmaker, just because you're a representative from Congress doesn't absolve you from this. Quote, I have persistently made efforts to address these issues without bringing criminal charges and have given Representative McIver every opportunity to come to a resolution, but she has unfortunately declined. No one is above the law, politicians or otherwise. It is the job of this office to uphold justice impartially, regardless of who you are. Now, we will let the justice system work. You know, this La Monica, she's got no regrets on any of it. She'd do it all over again. What is this, attention?
So having time and space to think about what happened on that day and reflect on it, would you have done anything differently?
No, I would not have. Once again, we showed up there to do a job, Kate. We were there for an oversight visit. We have done this before. You know, me, Congresswoman Bonnie Watson-Coleman, and Congressman Bob Menendez was just at a facility just a couple of weeks ago, not too far from this location, where we had an oversight visit, and we were a little bit delayed, but not, confronted or was in the middle of a chaos to do so. I think, number one, we have an obligation to do so. We have to show up and do our jobs. And at the end of the day, the reason why we were there is because we wanted to make sure this facility was up to par, that it was clean, that it was safe, and that the detainees there were, given due process, that they were able to use the phone, that they were able to speak to their legal representation, which we found out was not happening. But that was our reason. So despite, what Republicans are saying, about us, trying to break people out of jail, that's untrue. We were not there to do that. We were there to conduct an oversight visit, which after all of this, the chaos, Kate, they gave us a tour. We were all of this. We broke in, we assaulted people, all of these things that, Habba is saying and Republicans are saying, but they gave us a tour and allowed us to go in and tour the facility and speak to detainees. So, I would not have done anything different because, once again, the people that I represent expect from me to do my job, and that is exactly what I plan on doing, and that is what I was doing that day at Delaney Hall.
Really? Because, this didn't look like you were doing your job. It looked like you were trying to fight with ICE. This doesn't look like you're doing your job. If they tell you go home, then the answer is you make an appointment to come back. You don't engage in this kind of behavior which leads to violence. I realize you're new to Congress. She was just recently elected.
It's ridiculous. I was there to do my job along with my other colleagues. We have done this before.
Oh my God, if I have to hear this one more time, I was there to do my job. That is not how you do your job, okay, lady? It's not how you do the job. Meanwhile, she also went on to MSNBC, and this was kind of interesting, guys, because on MSNBC, she said that Alina Habba wanted her to agree to certain things. It's sort of similar to what Bonnie Coleman was saying earlier, that we're not going to agree to anything because we're just there, just trying to do our jobs. And she knows she was wrong. And yet she wouldn't sign it. Here, listen.
Well, Habba said you had declined every opportunity to come to a resolution. You said they wanted you to admit to something you didn't do. What did they want you to admit to?
There was a lot. We've had a week of back and forth with them, and I will say that I did not waver. I showed up there to do my job, and she wanted me to admit to doing things, all of these different lists of things that she said that I did.
Like what?
From things of impeding, there were some other things in there that she put in there, but I can't remember exactly what it was, but she wanted me to admit to these things, sign an agreement to them, and I'm not doing that, because it's not true. There was a lot of back and forth and just tenseness, all week from her and from her office. And so at the end of the day, once again, showed up to do my job, and I don't need to apologize for doing that. That is what the people of New Jersey expect for me to do, the 744,000, almost close to 800,000 people I represent. And why should we apologize about doing our job when ICE and Homeland Security created that environment and that atmosphere that we saw out there that day?
Lady, you can't provoke a fight. If they tell you to go home, you call up and you reschedule. You don't actually have like this giant protest where you're body slamming, which is what that looks like to me. Apparently DHS has better video of it. I can't wait to see that one. But yeah, you're going to get hit with criminal charges. Okay, these are criminal charges, which carry up to 7 years in prison and up to $250,000 in fines. These people think that they can do whatever they want, right? Just because they're Congress people and they got AOC's backing? Maybe, although I haven't seen anything from her lately. This was last week.
If anyone's breaking the law in this situation, it's not members of Congress, it's the Department of Homeland Security. It's people like Tom Homan and Secretary Kristi Noem. You lay a finger on them, we are going to have a problem.
then maybe we're going to have a problem. AOC now worries that she's going to get charged. She was asked by a reporter this week, and she's like, I'm wondering, I'm waiting. You know, I've written a letter asking the DOJ, am I going to get charged? Because you see, she's been running this little thing on the side where she sends out notices and she sends out social media posts telling everyone how you can avoid the feds, which is viewed as a kind of impediment, is it not? I mean, it's not quite the body slamming that LaMonica's got going on, but it is a form of impediment. And so now she's wondering, is she actually going to get arrested? I think she wants to. I think she actually wants to, because then she figures, oh, you know, maybe I'll get a little bit more attention. Fascinating that she has not weighed in on this other than what she said last week. But because she said that last week, DHS responded with, yeah, you know what, AOC, if you show up at a detention center and you decide to impede law enforcement and you decide to engage in body slamming or any kind of physical activity against an ICE agent, then you're going down too.
If AOC goes down there and pulls the same kind of stunt that we've seen on Friday and today, are you going to arrest her as well?
If she trespasses and if she assaults law enforcement officers, as we saw earlier, I think that that's certainly on the table.
Yeah, certainly on the table. By the way, market's way up today, so the market is brushing all of this off. This idea that somehow we have this total social unrest because the Trump administration is arresting the likes of LaMonica MacGyver or perhaps this Bonnie Coleman. The market doesn't care. The market is actually really psyched because we got one big, beautiful bill that's making its way both through Congress. It made its way, and then it's going on to the Senate, and you get all kinds of good stuff. I mean, look at what he got accomplished overseas, right? So the market likes that. Trump likes that. He's telling everybody to invest. I've been telling you to invest. Go to 76research.com, my own company, my own financial research company. I started with a dear friend, brilliant investor. Go use code word dollar. That way you get the introductory rate, $1 a month. Tom Homan, meanwhile, you know he has no use for this AOC, says, you can't intimidate me, girl.
First of all, you can't intimidate me. Come on, give me a break. You know, I was enforcing him. I was wearing a green uniform, Border Patrol agent, for 5 years before she was even born. I had more than 3 decades enforcing immigration law before she became a member of Congress. I worked for 6 presidents. I've seen policies, I've seen hundreds of policies. Some worked, some didn't. But you can't deny the success of the Trump administration when it comes to border security. Again, the most secure border in the history of this nation. And I said from day one, and she knows this, you can not support ICE, shame on you. You can support sanctuary cities, shame on you. But you can't cross the line. You can't knowingly impede ICE law enforcement officers. That is a felony. You can't harbor and conceal, knowingly harbor and conceal illegal alien from ICE. That is a felony. And you certainly can't commit criminal trespass. You know, and as far as New York, her district, this administration has done more to protect her district than she has. The number of criminal aliens we took off the streets of New York made her community much safer. She ought to be thanking the members of this administration, the men and women of ICE, who protect this country and make her community safer. So, you know, it's politics over public safety. It's just ridiculous. She ought to love her community more than she hates Trump, because we're doing a lot to protect her community.
You better believe it. But she can't. You see, this TDS is a real thing, and she really does suffer from it. Plus, she's hoping to run for president and probably figures if she can lean into this anti-Trump stuff, that'll help her politically. I don't think so. I actually think that the Democrat Party completely lost its base because of people like AOC, because of these extremists on the left, because of the LaMonicas of the world that are willing to choose violence over actual substance, that are willing to choose the side of the illegal gang members over the side of the everyday Americans. I mean, this is why unions overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump instead of the typical Democrat. You know, you think about the blue-collar Democrat. They said, bye-bye, see ya. But you know what? It's because the Democrat Party said goodbye to them a long time ago. I would say this, Tom Homan has an excellent solution. They're offering people that are here in this country illegally $1,000 and a plane ride home.
Because if they don't, they're going to face serious consequences. You know, what we started doing, we're enforcing 2 laws that we haven't enforced in a long time. Number 1, failing to register. If you don't fail to register after 90 days of being here, we're going to prosecute you criminally. Then we're going to deport you. And if you hinder your arrest,
if you don't open the door, if you don't answer our questions, if you don't assist in travel documents to your home nation after being ordered deported by the immigration judge, then we're going to prosecute you for that, which is 8 U.S.C. 1253. So we'll prosecute you, we'll put you in prison. When you get out, we'll deport you. We're not playing games. There are going to be consequences. Leave on your own. If you leave on your own and work with us, you can get your affairs in order. It makes sense for them and their families. And leave yourself an opportunity to come back to this country as a visitor or as a student, or if you have a U.S. citizen child, they can petition for you as a parent of a U.S. citizen. There are other avenues to come to this country the right way. But if we have to formally deport you, we got to go find you, and we got to put you on a plane and formally deport you. There are consequences. There are bars from 5 years to 20 years. You can't come back. Some of the bars are forever. So leave on your own and give yourself some opportunity in the future to be part of the greatest country on earth.
Makes sense. I mean, the Democrats don't want it. I think we know why. New York tried to get 800,000 non-citizens to be able to vote. The appellate court had to turn that one away. But there's method to their madness, okay? Understand what it is. And understand that Donald Trump is going to change it. New trouble for one, Letitia James. I mean, she kind of just admitted it. She literally admitted it in this thing that she did in New York last night. I think that this story is just ratcheting up. The Wall Street Journal's covering it. Trump talked about it yesterday. Stephen Miller talked about it. I'm going to play all the sound, but I want to start with her trying to give this kind of mea culpa to the audience. It is kind of hard to hear. I'm going to warn you of that. And it's tough. Again, for my audio listeners on Spotify, I apologize. But basically, she's admitting this whole thing. She's in some kind of church-like area, so there's a lot of echo going on. But let's listen to it together. And I can interpret what she's saying if anybody doesn't understand. Here we go.
As you know, we filed a lawsuit against Donald Trump and his family. We secured $454 million judgment against him, which is on appeal. The case is on appeal. I have no idea when that case will be decided. This investigation to me is nothing more than retribution. It's baseless. It has to do with the fact that on a power of attorney, I mistakenly indicated that I was a state of Virginia, but prior to that, I had indicated to the mortgage broker that, in fact, in bold cap letters, I am not a resident of Virginia and never will be. And in the mortgage application, I indicated that I would not live in Virginia and I was not a resident. They just took the power of attorney and they're using that as a basis for enforcement for their investigation, when in reality, the power of attorney was never used to determine my eligibility for a mortgage for my niece for a home in the state of Virginia. My niece who has children, and because I am an aunt, I wanted her to have a home.
Aww, yeah. Right. Listen, it's not like it was just once. It happened 3 times. We got 3 different examples of this. This kind of stuff doesn't normally happen. You don't fill out the application. Here we go. New York Post found this one. Take a look. This is the specific power of attorney for the purchase of the real estate, saying that I hereby declare that this will be my principal residence. She's trying to say, no, this is just technicality. We didn't really mean to do this. But is that what she's going to say when it comes to how she signed on as her father's wife? I mean, this is like Ilhan Omar style stuff, right, ladies and gentlemen? When he was getting a mortgage, she signed on Letitia James as his wife because apparently she was the only working member of the family. She wanted to have her paycheck being included so he could get the mortgage. Oh, and then there's the brownstone. The brownstone. This is great. Remember how she was after Donald Trump for inflating his square footage, she said, and that would help him get a better mortgage rate. Of course, it was a private transaction between him and his bank, which means the bank would have been on the hook as opposed to taxpayers because she was using federal taxpayer dollars in these cases. And in the private transaction, then it's Deutsche Bank's responsibility to send somebody out and measure the square footage if they so choose to do so. In this case, she's actually using taxpayer funds and putting taxpayer funds at risk. It's like mind-numbing. It's so stupid. I mean, the woman is stupid. Okay, really, really stupid. In the case of the 2023 business, that was 2023. So that was the same year, or it must have been like after she had already gone into court going after Donald Trump, saying that he was doing various things to get a better mortgage rate. Unbelievable. So the subpoenas have been issued. The Eastern Court in Virginia has issued subpoenas. The FBI has confirmed this is a full-fledged investigation. She's got the Wall Street Journal on it. Now, they've been avoiding this. Like, the whole mainstream media hasn't been covering this at all. I, feel kind of lonely. It's just Trish Regan covering the Letitia James story. It's like, really? You guys don't care about this? I kind of find it to be a major deal. Nobody's been covering it. The Wall Street Journal finally decided to do so, and they're pointing out that, yeah, it's kind of a problem. That Norfolk, Virginia home, listing it as a primary residence would be a problem. Not to mention the 2001 certificate for the Brooklyn residence, right, where she's saying, oh, there are 4 units instead of 5, because if there were 4 units, she qualified for a different mortgage rate and a different kind of housing application because she's using federal government funds, these people that like to live off the government instead of working for themselves. That's what they believe everything should be, right? The communist socialists that they are. Anyway, Donald Trump decided to respond to some of this yesterday as this story heats up. Here he is in the Oval Office. Let's listen.
What's your thoughts on Letitia James, Director Polte? According to him, Letitia James says that the alleged mortgage fraud was simply a mistake. I want to get your thoughts on that. She put down that her father was her husband in order, and this is very similar to, I guess, the false attacks they have on here.
Well, I don't know what it is currently, but Letitia James, who's the Attorney General of New York State, it seemed, I'm not involved in that at all. I know it's being handled by various groups, I guess, but it's major fraud, mortgage documents, and fraudulent everything. I think she said the father was her husband, which she had to have a husband, or so she chose her father, and she put it down, and she had didn't she sign in Virginia? Yet she said she lived in Virginia. Yet she's the New York State Attorney General. She did that for tax reasons, so she could take advantage of taxes. And she had the wrong number of units. She had a much different number, which wouldn't have allowed her to qualify and scam the government. So I don't know. I think she's very bad for New York, but I really don't know too much about it. But I appreciate the question. Thank you very much. Yes.
For you to be convinced that there's no genocide.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Did you guys hear that okay? Somebody said they couldn't hear it. Let's go back. Let's listen to Donald Trump again talking about Letitia James.
Your thoughts on Letitia James, Director Polte? According to him, Letitia James says that the alleged mortgage fraud was simply a mistake. I want to get your thoughts on that. She put down that her father was her husband in order, and this is very similar to, I guess, the false attacks they have on here.
Well, I don't know what it is currently, but Letitia James, who's the Attorney General of New York State, it seemed, I'm not involved in that at all. I know it's being handled by various groups, I guess, but it's major fraud, mortgage documents, and fraudulent everything. I think she said the father was her husband, which she had to have a husband, or so she chose her father, and she put it down, and she had didn't she sign in Virginia? Yet she said she lived in Virginia. Yet she's the New York State Attorney General. She did that for tax reasons, so she could take advantage of taxes. And she had the wrong number of units. She had a much different number, which wouldn't have allowed her to qualify and scam the government. So I don't know. I think she's very bad for New York, but I really don't know too much about it. But
so he's going to say, okay, everybody else is going to listen. Thank you for saying you can hear it. I want to make sure that it's all coming through loud and clear because this is important. 18 U.S.C. 1014, false statements to obtain a federally insured loan. 18 U.S.C. 1001, false statements to the government. I mean, this woman could face 30 years in prison. Okay, 30 years in prison. And it's just mind-blowing in that she's out there accusing him of one thing at the same time, the same year, being guilty of a different version that's far more egregious, frankly, than what she was accusing Donald Trump of, because she's involving federal taxpayer dollars. And this is why you have William Pulte from the FHA referring the case to the DOJ, who then took on the case. And now we have the grand jury issuing subpoenas, the FBI saying, yes, the investigation has begun. Stephen Miller, we love Stephen Miller, okay? Stephen Miller is a hoot and super smart. And he came out with some pretty scandalous things to say this morning on Letitia James. I think serial liar was how he put it, but let's go to Stephen.
Letitia James says the allegations against her are nothing more than a revenge tour by the Trump administration. What's your response?
My response is that Letitia James is one of the most corrupt, shameless individuals ever to hold public office. She is guilty not only of those crimes, but of countless more crimes by using and abusing her public office to try to persecute an innocent man, depriving him of his rights, engaging in a conspiracy to obstruct our election, and to overthrow our democratic processes and procedures. She is guilty of multiple significant serial criminal violations.
Charlotte, I'm looking at your comment. She got the idea from herself. She did, right? So serial violations is what he's saying she is guilty of. Again, we can go back to the Norfolk, Virginia home. We can go back to the Brownstown in Brooklyn, 2001, or we can go back to 1983 and the home she bought with Daddy, who was apparently her husband. I mean, wow. Okay, 30 years. 30 years is what she is facing. And her response is, oh, this is a technicality. This is a technicality. She's been on MSNBC. I've showed you the sound before. But, she can say it's a technicality all she wants. I think you're seeing a pattern of behavior here. And what's so insane about it all is that she tried to use a similar line, right, against Donald Trump, except she's too stupid to understand that a private transaction is extremely different than a federal transaction where you're using taxpayer dollars and putting taxpayer money at risk. And she tried to equate this and say that Deutsche Bank was equivalent of the government somehow. And so Donald Trump, therefore, was taking advantage of taxpayers by getting a lower rate on his mortgage because maybe he inflated the square footage of Mar-a-Lago, or maybe he said Mar-a-Lago was worth X when she said it was worth Y. I do believe she thought it was worth, what, $18 million. I'm like, hey, I'll buy it for 18 mil. Really? We'll all get together, okay, guys? We will buy it for 18 mil because we take that trade all day long. Hello. I mean, oceanfront, it's nuts, right? Like, it's worth hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, but she's trying to say 18 like she knows. Letitia, you're not that smart, and you certainly don't understand real estate. Here's the judge. In that courtroom case, I'm just going to quick soundbite, because Judith Vale, who's allegedly the smarter lawyer because she's doing the appellate court case, she's trying to argue the AG, Attorney General Letitia James's case in front of the appellate court, who I'm really annoyed with because they should have had a verdict on this one and it should be thrown out because the $500 million fine is insane. It will happen. It will happen, guys, because legally this just makes absolutely no sense. And the judges know that for some reason. And I wonder if Kathy Hochul or anybody, like this could be political, is holding things up. This judge knows it. This is a private transaction. It's a commercial dispute. It's not affecting taxpayers at large. So why the hell, Letitia James, did you even bring the case? Oh, we know why.
It was using...
I'm sorry, but what's being described sounds an awful lot like a potential commercial dispute between private actors.
Well, to go back to the first question about whether there's other examples of this, there are other examples of this. In the First American case, the Attorney General brought a 6312 case where the transaction at issue was between a very big bank, Wells Fargo, and a professional appraisal firm.
But it wasn't the concern there that the public would ultimately be negatively impacted and affected by what those corporate actors were doing.
And that concern is here as well, because when you have hidden risks getting injected into the market, that hurts the market and honest participants in the market. And the legislature also decided, contrary to what defendants think, that making sure that business in New York stays honest is the way to attract and keep business
So to that
in New
point,
York.
the Executive Law 6312, I just want to read a section of it. Well, not exactly, but was enacted to promote and protect honesty and integrity. It's the same question I asked the other side. In commercial marketplaces in New York, by stopping fraudulent and illegal businesses. To accomplish this purpose, the statute authorizes the Attorney General to bring civil enforcement proceedings on behalf of the people whenever any person shall engage in repeated fraudulent or illegal acts or otherwise demonstrate persistent fraud or illegality in the carrying on, conducting, or transacting of business. I don't read harm or threat of harm in that, but the other side is saying that that is to be read into the statute. Are there any cases where the language harm or threat to harm limits the scope of the Attorney General?
No, Your Honor, not as to liability and not in cases like this where what the Attorney General is seeking is injunctive relief and disgorgement.
You know, I hate to say it, but the only person on that entire appellate court that even tried to sound sympathetic to Letitia James and Judith Vale happened to be that particular woman that you saw. Everybody else, like one after another, was boom, 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 boom. They were like, you have no victim. Therefore, you have no case. So there's only one holdout there. I'm also going to point out she's going to be out of money pretty soon. Remember how she said that Donald Trump was going to have to sell his assets in order to pay the $500 million fine? Well, Tissue Baby's going to have to sell her assets too to cover her legal bills because guess what? State of New York GOP members are like, we're not paying for this. This is a personal thing. You're the one who can't seem to keep your personal records in order, you know? Signing up for a mortgage as your dad's wife? How is that our problem as taxpayers? It's not. So you know what? Letitia's going to be out of money very, very soon. She's got a high-priced, expensive attorney that was working for Hunter Biden before he took her case. And that means if she can't come up with the money, I think she might just have to sell that little house in Norfolk, Virginia, right? You're going to keep paying for this guy? Wow. I mean, just an amazing, amazing turn of events. Truly, truly, truly amazing. I want to get back to this story that is just the tragedy that unfolded there in Washington, D.C., because we've got some breaking news that I want to bring you right now on this. You know, we talked about Letitia James and pulling kind of an Ilhan Omar sort of move, right? Ilhan Omar allegedly having married her brother or something for immigration reasons. And then Letitia James claiming on a mortgage document she's allegedly married to her dad. Funny what people will do, right? Anyway, tragedy outside D.C. And this brings to mind what I was talking about with Ilhan Omar. Of course, as I reported, that young couple being gunned down outside the Capitol Jewish Museum. They were engaged to be married, a young Israeli couple. Just horrible, horrible, horrible tragedy. And everybody's been united on this, right? You have the mayor of D.C. coming forward, saying how awful this is. You have Pam Bondi coming forward saying they are going to seek justice. Well, there's one person that for some reason is refusing to condemn, absolutely refusing to condemn the horror that went down. And that person, ladies and gentlemen, and she should be ashamed, but you know what? She's kind of just frankly a disgusting human being, if you ask me. That person is one Ilhan Omar. I want to go to the sound just coming into us right now.
Congresswoman Omar,
Anybody safe?
can I get your reaction to the shooting that happened in D.C. last night?
I'm going to go for now. I'm going to go for now, Mark. Couldn't even say condolences for the family.
No. I'm going to go for now. Ilhan Omar having nothing to say. What kind of human being is Ilhan Omar? How is she a member of Congress? Remember, people are united in their concern. People are in agreement. This was a horrible, horrible thing. You have the Democrat mayor, okay? The Democrat mayor, Mayor Bowser, coming out and admitting what a horrible tragedy this is, and yet Ilhan Omar can't show some bit of respect. I'm going to go for now. Here's Maria Bowser.
is that the horrific incident is going to frighten a lot of people in our city and in our country. And I want to be clear that we will not tolerate this violence or hate in our city. We will not tolerate any acts of terrorism, and we're going to stand together as a community in the coming days and weeks to send the clear message that we will not tolerate anti-Semitism.
Right. Okay? Like, right. That is the right thing to say. I don't care what side of the political aisle you are on. Ilhan Omar, really, you are shameful. Shameful. And Pam Bondi, of course. Pam Bondi coming out and saying, we're going to get these people.
Mayor, thank you. Chief, thank you. Ambassador, our hearts go out to you and your staff. I spoke to the President of the United States multiple times tonight on behalf of the President. His prayers are with all of us, all of the Jewish community, everyone in Washington, D.C., state, local, and federal agencies, and our great U.S. Attorney, Jeanine Pirro, who will be prosecuting this case, will be doing everything in our power to keep all citizens safe, especially tonight our Jewish community. Our prayers go out. We have the FBI. All of our federal agencies will work hand in hand with you, Chief, as we have done, and you, Mayor, to do everything we can to keep our citizens safe. We will follow the facts. We will follow the law. And this defendant, if charged, will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
As a human being, can you not just say this was horrible? I feel bad for the families. As a human being, Representative Ilhan Omar, apparently not. Let's watch it again.
Congresswoman Omar,
Anybody safe?
can I get your reaction to the shooting that happened in D.C. last night?
I'm going to go for now.
I'm going to go for now, Mark. Couldn't even say condolences for the family.
Unbelievable. Okay. Unbelievable. It's just, it's an interesting thing for us to just understand and know about the other side right now. The other side being the squad members like Ilhan Omar, who can't even find the decency to say this was a tragic event. I feel terrible for those families. Is this because she justifies it in her head? Because the killer was shouting Free Palestine? Is she justifying that? Unfortunately, I mean, this is the woman who said some people did something regarding 9/11. You know, you wonder how much this radicalism has infiltrated our government, our State Department, our Pentagon. When you think about the cleaning house that Tulsi Gabbard or Pete Hegseth are doing right now to get rid of the DEI woke ideology, it's not just that. It's also making sure that we have people that are on our team. When you look at what transpired, for example, with the South African president and not wanting to admit to what has happened to some of the white farmers there, and the media, of course, jumping all over the president because how dare he use the Oval Office to bring in some evidence about the horrible, horrible atrocities and murders that are happening in South Africa. And you say to yourself, like, whose side are you guys really on? Scott Jennings articulated this, I thought, quite well when he was on CNN. So whether you want to get into the debate of whether or not this is genocide, I happen to have my views on that, which are more aligned with Elon Musk and the president than with what you would see out of the mainstream media. But we can save that for another day and just acknowledge that, you know, the destruction of human life is flat out wrong. Like, whose side are you guys on? Consider this. Here's Jennings.
Whether you call it a genocide or not, the facts are white farmers in South Africa have been murdered. A lot of people have tried to cover this up. A lot of people in, I think, media in the United States have tried to cover it up. Obviously, the South African government doesn't want to talk about it, so it was kind of a boss move for Donald Trump to roll that television in there today. And I think even the agriculture minister in the Oval Office confirmed that these people are, in fact, being murdered. So my question is, if it's not a genocide today, how many do we want to let get murdered so that people around here can be satisfied. Okay, now it's a genocide. Let's let a few more. I don't understand. We're talking about 50-something people they were trying to let in, and everybody's losing their mind after we let in 20 million illegal immigrants over the last several years. The president is trying to prevent genocide from happening any further to these people. They are clearly being discriminated against. Some have been murdered. This was an interesting spectacle in the Oval Office today, but it had to happen because I don't think anybody was telling the truth about it.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, we got a badass for president, that's for sure, right? He's not afraid to take any of them on at all. And you know what? Good things are going to come of this. As I said, good news about the big, beautiful bill, if you would. This was getting signed as last night. I mean, they spent like 14 hours working on this thing. And it looks like things are moving along, and the market loves it, by the way. This was the article. We were getting close there yesterday. You saw the market trading down. I hope you bought in. Of course, I always buy in when the market goes down. You know, that's the idea. You buy low, you sell high. Anyway, Donald Trump promising that if we got this deal, and we're about to get it. So now it goes to the Senate, okay? But now it's going to the Senate, but it looks like things are happening. And he's like, great things ahead. Here he is about a week and a half ago saying, look, if we get this deal, plus what I think we're going to get overseas, this is win-win-win.
It's the biggest bill of its kind ever in the history of this country. And Speaker Johnson and Leader Thune have done an incredible job. I mean, I'll let you know we have to get a vote, but we have a lot of support for that bill. And if that happens on top of all of these trade deals that we're doing, this country will hit a point that you better go out and buy stock now. Let me tell you, this country will be like a rocket ship that goes straight up. This is going to be numbers that nobody's ever seen before. That's a very important element of all of this. You know, if we get that, if you don't, and the Democrats are fighting it only because they want to fight. They have Trump derangement syndrome. You know, if it was somebody else, they wouldn't fight. If you had a normal person, if you had some stiff sitting behind you, they'd be fine. But they have Trump derangement syndrome. You know, Senator Schumer's become a Palestinian. Welcome. I don't know when they're going to give him the ceremony, whatever the ceremony may be. It's terrible what's happened to the Democrats. So very, very important element of everything, of what we're doing.
It is, right? You know what? I got to change this lower. How to invest amid volatility. How to invest amid a bull market. I mean, this has just been phenomenal. What's been going on? Did you see Bitcoin? Don, I'm sorry. I told you, right? Like, I've loved Bitcoin ever since it was $10. I wish I bought it when it was $10, but I just got a notice here. It's crossed again to a new high, guys. Bitcoin is on a tear. We told you over at 76 Research to buy it when I want to say it was around 56,000. We actually have done a lot of work on that, and it's all there. $1 a month. You can get all the information. We have a few stock names. It's sort of the rise of the Bitcoin trust that you should check out. But Bitcoin has hit yet another high today. And in this administration, I suspect it's going to continue moving even higher. It's just incredible. And, you know, we should do a deep dive. We can do a deep dive on this maybe next week sometime for those of you that are interested. Or maybe I'll just do a deep dive and I'll put it on the Bitcoin playlist, because I actually think that we're off to the races as far as these cryptos go. And, you know, whether or not it holds here, hey, Michael Saylor thinks it's going to 13 million, right? I do think that you want some kind of exposure. You may be getting it through Saylor's company, or if you're in the triple Qs right on the NASDAQ. That's one way to do it. But, you know, if you don't have exposure to, say, BTC, which has a very low fee and is now traded, you know, on the exchange, you might be missing out. So that's my sort of spiel. We've got a lot more stocks and a lot more ideas over at 76 Research. Go check that out. Take a look at this upside. I love it. Okay. Great show today. Thank you guys for being here. We're going to continue on. I've got more stories coming your way throughout the day. I know this was an early one for you. I kind of like this time, though. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think of the show. Great to have you here. Great to see you, and I'll see you tomorrow.